This video of a Muslim girl debating Cliffe has been going viral, so I'm gonna break it down for you.
In the Quran, we read, Jesus is a good prophet, he is not God. The problem is the historical Jesus claimed to be God.
The problem with the Quran is that it claims Jesus was not God, which contradicts what Jesus himself claimed and all of his eyewitnesses. It contradicts a lot of more things in the Old and New Testament, but this is the most important thing.
To be an internal contradiction is on one page it says something, on a different page it says something else. Like the gentleman that left mentioned about the creation.
You're right.
Creation came
The
about.
Quran
That's
does not
internal
contradict
message.
itself, I agree.
So then
But
we'll
it
go to point number
contradicts
two. Point number
the
two.
historical evidence that Jesus claimed to be God.
Clarifies his argument that it's not there's contradiction inside the Quran, but that it contradicts the historical evidence of Jesus and his eyewitnesses that happened before him, which is how you determine if someone is a false prophet or not.
Claimed. From what John and Joseph and Mike and whoever.
That's right, man, and that's the only thing. That's the only way I can know anything historically. Historical knowledge is based on the trustworthiness of eyewitness testimony.
That's what history is, what people claimed happened in the past. And since Muhammad denied what happened, and he lived 500 years after, and never met Jesus, it's a contradiction and proves that he is a false prophet. It's very simple.
Then why take what John and those people said 500 years before what Muhammad came with?
Now this question proves how out of reality Muslims are. She is asking why trust John and the people that lived with Jesus every day, the reason we even know what we know about Jesus, the people who got killed for claiming Jesus rose from the dead. She's asking why we trust them over Muhammad, a random man that existed 500 years after Jesus, who never met Jesus or even spoke to Jesus or any of the disciples, that suddenly claims everything is corrupted, denies everything that happened, creates an entire new religion opposite to everything Jesus said. I mean, this question alone refutes Islam because the answer makes you realize how crazy it actually is.
That's exactly why I trust John, because he lived with Jesus. Muhammad was the dude who never met Jesus. John met Jesus, listened to Jesus.
But doesn't it come with time that things like that become more inaccurate? Jesus' book isn't here. Jesus' book is not here.
Yes, the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were written in the first century.
Okay, Moses' book,
eyewitnesses, that's what I want when it comes to historical knowledge.
Book, the Torah, right? Did Jesus believe in the Torah? Did Jesus follow Moses?
Yes, Jesus believed the Torah was the Word of God, very clearly.
So then why do you accept Jesus as a successor of Moses and you don't accept Muhammad as a successor of Jesus?
Because Muhammad contradicted Jesus.
But you don't have any way to tell whether or not what Jesus came with is the exact same as what Moses came with, because the book Moses came with is not the same today as it was at the time. Can you agree with me on that?
No, that made no sense to me.
This is a famous lie spread on TikTok by Muslims YouTubers, but we actually have the Dead Sea Scrolls that confirms that nothing been changed. Did you even know that? So if you're a Muslim and actually cares about truth, you can fact-check this for yourself.
Can you agree with me on that?
No, that made no sense to me. I'm sorry, I'm not smart enough to figure out what you just said there. Makes no sense to me.
Okay,
what on earth did you just say?
Right now, the book that Moses came with.
Yes?
Do you agree Jesus
He didn't
memorized?
come with anything, he wrote something.
He didn't write anything, it was revealed to him.
Baloney, Moses wrote. No book floated out of heaven to Moses.
Why Cliffe is pushing against this and making this big distinction is because her argument to why the Quran is true is simply because it was revealed by Allah. But that claim is impossible to prove. So when you ask a Muslim, how do you know that? They answer because the Quran says so. It's a circular thinking.
Moses wrote.
What makes him a prophet? The fact that he was a self-claimed prophet, he was a good writer? There's plenty of good writers. That doesn't make them prophets.
Good point. You're not a prophet just because you claim you are. If you use that logic, it refutes Islam because Muhammad didn't fulfill any prophets. Nothing about him fulfills anything from Old or New Testament. The only reason he was able to create and spread Islam was trough wars, something I recommend every Muslims to do research for themselves too.
Goodness gracious, man. No way.
What
Do I
is your
accept this
definition
kind of floating out of heaven book that you do?
No one's saying it's floating out of heaven.
Well, then what are you saying?
Revealed through angels. Do you believe
Moses
angels?
wrote. No, an angel didn't write the Torah.
No one said
Moses
an angel
wrote it, not an angel.
Wrote it.
What are you saying?
Revealed through angels.
And no angel wrote the New Testament either. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Peter, James wrote the New Testament.
So what makes someone a prophet? And not a random great writer?
What makes someone a prophet is that God inspires them. And there's absolutely no way that I can show you who a prophet is. If this guy claims to be a prophet, I can't just blindly say, yes, he's a prophet, or no, he's not a prophet. I have to observe how he lives his life. I have to listen to what he believes.
And 500 people for you is good enough for that. As long as 500 people say he's a prophet, we're good. We're golden.
No, that's your argument.
This discussion is getting confusing because Cliffe is trying to show her how her position makes no sense at all, while she is just asking question after question after question, changing points every second, never reaching a goal. Cliffe is still trying to make the point that you can only know if something is inspired by God if you observe and see signs like prophecies getting fulfilled that was written thousands of years apart. That is something you can observe for yourself. So when 500 eyewitnesses claims they saw Jesus resurrect from the dead after getting crucified, and everything they said they saw fulfills the Old Testament's prophecies that was written thousands of years ago, it confirms that it's inspired by God.
I'm not standing here saying anybody's a prophet. Your argument is
follow me to Scientology!
So again, we'll talk about what makes someone a prophet. Your definition of a prophet, and I'll follow with mine. You said a good writer.
No, I didn't.
The fact that she says he said that a good writer is what makes someone a prophet, after everything he said, proves that she is not sincere.
But again, so we're
A
all on the
prophet
same
is
page.
someone who's inspired by God, but I can't show you that someone's inspired by God. It's impossible.
So this is something in your own heart.
I can't show you that a book is inspired by God. And don't you understand? That's why it's so hard for you and me to have an intelligent conversation.
Okay.
Because you just lapsed into,
Can I answer
this
can
is
I
inspired
answer-
by God,
can I
this is
answer
from
your
God, this is from an angel.
Well,
Well,
listen.
fine, but there's no way you can show that.
Okay, you're here right now. The purpose of you coming here is to quote unquote guide misguided people. I talked to the people who brought you and they said your point is not to convert people to Christianity. Your point is to get atheists and agnostics to believe in Jesus.
No,
Yeah.
and you, I pray
Well,
you
then-
come to believe
well,
in
then,
Jesus,
I
man.
believe in Jesus. I don't
You
believe
reject
in
him
Jesus
as
how
God.
You
You
do.
don't accept his death
I
on the
believe
cross
in
for your
Jesus.
sin.
Okay.
Muslims say they believes in Jesus. The Jesus Muslims believe in is fabricated and created by Muhammad 500 years after. So I recommend you to read about who Jesus was and who the eyewitnesses said he was, not what Muhammad 500 years after said he was. That doesn't make any sense at all.
A prophet is someone who comes with something extraordinary that combats everything at the time in proof of his claim. So many people came claiming they were prophets, and they did things that didn't prove their claim. The prophet came, Prophet Muhammad, first of all, we'll start off with Jesus, who we both agree with. Jesus was born without a father.
How do you know that?
Miracle number one.
How do you know that?
Revealed in the Quran, and when he spoke.
Revealed in the Quran 500 years after
Listen,
the
when
fact.
he spoke-
All of a sudden, because some dude says he was born without a father, you believe it?
Okay, fine. You don't believe that Jesus was born without a father. You don't.
I can promise you, ma'am, I'm not going to believe Jesus was born without a father because some dude who lived 500 years after Christ writes it in a book.
Okay.
Cliffe is not denying that Jesus was born a virgin. He believes in that, but because of other reasons that we've spoken about, but many others. But he has tried in this entire discussion, bring awareness and help her and other Muslims realize that her evidence is because the Quran says so. And since the Quran was revealed by God, that makes it true, which is a circular thinking that doesn't make sense. This way of thinking is sadly very normal in the Muslim community. But hopefully my breakdowns can help make Muslims aware and start seeking the truth for real. Subscribe so you don't miss more breakdowns.